Bill, tell me a little bit about David McCormick. How much does he help that 4- and 5-man rotation for you?
Well, he hasn't had a chance to play much at all. The thing that I thought was most encouraging about David the other night, and I actually mentioned this to David, and he said, that's right. You know, when he's played, he's always played in the first half, and he's sped up. He's sped up in the first half, at least offensively, and then he hasn't had a chance to play much in the second half because all our games have been close. And the other day he played in the second half, and he looked like he was the most poised, slow motion guy out there. So, you know, that shows me, you know, he just needs reps. But yeah, he's very important moving forward and in so many areas, and I see him definitely playing more. I know there's certain situations where we may not can as much depending on matchups and things, but I definitely see him playing more, and certainly Arizona State would be a nice way to kind of start that because they're going to play bigger than the way most teams play.
How are they as a team different from last year, if at all?
Well, I think that they are different because last year they had those 3 little cats that can just go make plays, and this year they're a lot bigger, and they're obviously talented and athletic, probably more athletic than last year, without question. But we had such a hard time guarding the ball last year against them with their quickness, and now we're bigger and maybe not quite as quick, and certainly they're bigger, and so it'll be I think two totally different teams playing against each other compared to what it was like last year.
For David, where have you seen the most growth in his game from October to December?
I would say, you know, to me, his intellect is very, very good, very high. I think he really understands what we're trying to do to win, and I think that's hard to do sometimes when you're not playing very much. I also think that, you know, we've always known he's had a motor. We always knew he could rebound the ball. He goes after balls with 2 hands and things like that. But I think his offensive skill set has definitely improved. He just gets sped up, Kenitra, where he can't, you know, left-hand jump hooks outside the lane that are guarded, you know, just think, you know, that gets excited and sped up. You know, I really think his pace is much better now than it was, because as he can get kind of sped up sometimes, he's much slower in many ways than he was even 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Bill, I know that when you build the schedule, it just kind of work out the way they do sometimes, but in a kind of a more balanced world, would you like to play more true road games in the non-con?
I don't think so. I think the number of true road games to play is 2. I think that's the number. And if you look at the schedule, you'd understand why. Because, okay, you play 2, then you play, let's say, 3 neutral games at a exempt tournament, then you play the Champions deal, and you got different things going on, and you got to make your budget. So I think the way you could look at it is, instead of saying how many true road games, how many games away from home compared to how many that are at home. And I think ours is, I could be wrong on this, you guys can correct me. What is ours this year? Is it 8-5 or 7-6, something like that? But people would be saying, and you would too, if we had already played Arizona State and Kentucky on the road with home games left, then you'd say, oh geez, they've already been battle tested away from home and all that stuff. So I think the timing of playing those 2 road games being late, you know, may not be the best, but I still think 2's the number. Just probably would rather do them a little bit earlier.
ASU has a freshman, leads them in steals, points, 20 a game, Luke Dort.
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
Well, he's a guard. I mean, but he's built like a safety. You know, he's really beyond his years physically, and you know, he was a highly recruited kid. But I think what he's doing has been even a pleasant surprise, maybe to ASU. I can't speak for them, but I mean, he could be a lottery pick, and here he is as a true freshman that probably wasn't as projected as high as some out there. So he scored from beyond the arc, and he could certainly, you know, use his body and power to get to the hole. He's really a good player. he's like a, now don't take this the wrong way, a Marcus Smart with skill. I mean, he's a tough cat, and I mean that in a sincere form of flattery, because I love Marcus Smart. His competitiveness and strength and those things. So I think there's some similarities like that, but I do think that he can, you know, shoot the ball at a pretty high clip, especially if he gets on the roll.
You said early on that at home, Diedrich was playing kind of off balance. Has he stabilized in that area?
Yeah, I mean, you mean like physically off balance? Yeah, I thought he was, you know, if you go way back to Vermont, when he, you know, made a shot sitting on his butt. If I think, no, that wasn't Vermont, was it? Vermont, he may have been scored, I can't remember, but there was maybe it's Louisiana that he did that, but yeah, I think there's been stretches, but I haven't noticed that in the last you know, several games of him maybe not having his legs underneath him. I think he's much better with that.
Are these first true road games typically pretty revealing for your team? What do you look to learn from your guys?
You know what? I think so. But just because you go on the road and you win doesn't mean that you conquered it, or if you don't win, it means you know, lost it. I think that the statistics show it's harder to win on the road, but usually hard road games bring a tighter huddle, certainly bring kind of a focus that's a little bit sharper maybe than what it is when you think you're comfortable, even though you're never really comfortable. So I think we'll learn some things from our team in this way, and certainly we need to go play with a free mind but with the sole purpose. And you know, I think that we will. I think it'll be a great test for our guys to play a quality team like this. And they're coming off a loss, and you know, they had a long road trip themselves, if I'm not mistaken, Georgia and Vandy, and they're coming off a loss, and the game before that may have been Nevada. So how about that 3-game stretch, and none of them at home. So they'll be amped up and ready to go.
Big picture, what do you think about your defense?
You know what? I was really encouraged after the Villanova game, and not very happy at all after the South Dakota game. It wasn't very good at all. I think that whether we want to admit it or not as coaches, I do think there's something that when there's anticipation to play a game of magnitude or national implications, you approach it a lot differently than you do sometimes another game. And I didn't think our approach was close to the same against South Dakota as what it was against Villanova. Against Villanova, I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. Against South Dakota, I didn't feel that at all.
Some of that just, you've been asking guys to pressure out more, maybe get teams out of their offenses. Is that something with some more?
Well, yeah, we'd like, you know, the thing about, even if you can watch a lot of teams, and a lot of teams don't pressure hard, but they pressure to a certain point on the floor. And so, you know, we're not going to be a team that just picks up full court and does a lot of different things, but we can make them feel us. Certainly earlier in a possession or higher on the court than what we have at other times. And, you know, if you let somebody just be comfortable and initiate offense, usually after if it's initiated, it's hard to get back. You know, if you don't start out in the right spots, you're probably not going to end up in the right spots. And so, you know, just the thought of, you know, if you make the guy catch it at 22 rather than 20, that may not seem like a big deal. You just taking away a 3-point shot, now you can play him as a driver or a passer, as opposed to, you know, bringing his shot and shot fake into play. So those are the kind of things I'm talking about, and I think we are doing a better job with that. That one thing we're doing better, but mental breakdowns. I mean, you know, getting backdoored out of timeouts. When okay, they're going backdoor right here. You know, this is what they're, you know, and still though, you know, doing that. And when that happens, it's usually done because they're trying to do what we ask them to do in some ways, but it's not the right time to do it. You know, it's okay to, you know, middle of a possession to, you know, really get out and overplay and this and that. But if you know they're going to try to back cut you, maybe that's a possession. Maybe you kind of think about that before you overextend. And I don't think we quite got that yet.
So it was more the little things you were disappointed with defensively, because obviously South Dakota didn't shoot a high percentage or score a ton.
Oh, no. But you know, just because somebody makes a shot doesn't mean you play bad defense, and just because somebody misses a shot doesn't mean you play good defense. You know, it's a good or bad shot when it leaves your hand, and there was a lot of times where we can scramble very good or whatnot, but you know, without putting too much emphasis on that one game, I also know that we played a little hungover too.
What's your evaluation of Diedrich at this point defensively?
I think he's been okay. Yeah, I think he's been. I wouldn't put anybody. You could say Devon's this and Devon's that. Well, Devon can get much better off the ball. He's good on the ball though, I mean, no question. And you could say that others certainly have showed flashes of doing things. You could say Q is doing a really good job of being sound. And then you could say, well, let's get some activity. And then you could say, Doak's done a good job of this, but we got to block shots too, Doak. I mean, so I think that we've been okay, but I don't think we put it together by any stretch.
How is Doak feeling, and could he play Saturday?
You know what? I don't know. I was. He basically took yesterday off, except for just rehab or whatnot. But our team did as well. We didn't practice yesterday, so we just watched tape, and then and shocked. We watched tape and shocked yesterday. But I think that Doak is going to try to do some things today in practice, and I don't know if it'll be unlimited, but I still think he'll be doubtful for Saturday. But you know, who knows? We'd like to get him out there if the docs say he's good to go.
What's your kind of thoughts on the state of the Big 12 to this point?
I got a kick out of it with some of the so-called pundits saying that this is going to be a down year for the Big 12, and we actually had a bad first week or so as a league as a whole. Since then, you know, I looked at it maybe 2 or 3 days ago. I read some article. It's the #1 rated conference again. I think the Big Ten was 2 and the ACC was 3. And you know, there's been some very pleasant surprises. You know, Texas Tech, even though we knew they'd be pretty good, they've been a very pleasant surprise, and they got a huge game tonight, if I'm not mistaken, against Duke, and then Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma's been terrific, and you know, you knew they'd be pretty good, but you didn't know they'd be terrific. And there's been other teams that have been kind of what everyone expected, but I think it's going to be. I read something the other day. We're 20-10 against the other Power 5 leagues, or Power 6 because we included the Big East. 20-10. I mean, that's terrific. You know, that bodes well. That first of all, it means everybody's scheduled a good schedule, and then secondly, we've taken some advantage of opportunities.
How much do you get to watch of the other teams? I guess this early.
I haven't watched much at all. You know, even like I hope I get a chance to watch the game tonight, but you know, it's harder to watch during non-conference, in large part because you know we all have ways to watch. But you know, just going through, okay, Oklahoma State's on this channel at this time, and you know, DirecTV or somebody, you know, a lot of times you just go home and put on ESPN or ESPN2 and you know, watch whatever's on. But not as much as what some people may think. But obviously that's going to change over the next couple of weeks.
Christmas is coming up. What's the best Christmas gift you've ever received?
Best Christmas gift I've ever received?
Yeah.
Well, I've been pretty fortunate and blessed in many ways, but you know, I got an early Christmas gift last year. I had a granddaughter, so that would probably take priority over everything. You know, I've gotten things when I was young that I can remember a little bit. I remember shooting a BB gun a lot, you know, on Christmas Day, which is pretty cool. But as an adult, I really think the best way to have a good Christmas is to win your last game before Christmas. And we've done it both ways. And certainly Christmas is much more pleasant doing it the right way. So you know, the best thing for everybody to have a good Christmas. I mean, you're going to have a good Christmas no matter what. You'll be with family. but for everybody to have the best Christmas is to play well against Arizona State. I do remember, and you guys will too that covered us, we played Nevada the game before Christmas one year, and they beat us. Snyder put on a show, and they beat us by 15 or 20 at Nevada. And at that time, we didn't know Nevada was any good. You know, they ended up going to Sweet 16. I mean, they were good, but we didn't know that. But I remember how much I dreaded calling all the players and their families, wishing them a Merry Christmas, just because I didn't want to talk to them at all, and I knew that they didn't want to talk to me. But, you know, so it's you know, more fun calls whenever we win.
Did you watch Nevada, Arizona State?
Yes, I have watched majority of that game. Yes, and you know, Arizona State controlled the game, you know, until midway in the second half, and then Nevada made some plays late. But yeah, that was a coin flip game.
What do you make of Bobby's rise there to get to where he's at Arizona State?
Well, he can credit a lot of that to Kansas, you know, because they went from being maybe a top 20 team last year to third in the country, like that. So the rise in large part was, you know, we contributed to that. So that's not any good. But that didn't surprise me at all. You know, how can a guy that and his brother too, Danny, how could they not be successful? I mean, good athletes, good players, grew up in an area where you had to fight and be tough every day, and then maybe coached by arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time. And he also eats dinner with you every night. And then all the success he's had as a player, and then also the heartache that he's had as a player, you know, with the accident when he was with Sacramento. So he's been through a lot, but certainly I think all those experiences probably prepared him to be a terrific coach.
How much of that toughness would you describe you see reflected in his team and the way that they play?
I think he's very fiery, and so I do think that they have taken on the personality of him, which I think is, you know, we saw that firsthand with Frank at K-State. You know, that team took on Frank's personality, and they had terrific success. And I think that this is kind of a lot like that. And teams also take over personalities of, you know, coaches real poised, and the team seems to be poised in pressure situations too. I mean, so it works all ways, but I do think that this team has his personality written all over it.
You seeing that same type of thing in your own team, them taking on your personality, any specific players or anything?
I would say sometimes yes. I would say not as much this year as what and I'm not saying I have a great personality by any stretch, but I would say not this year as much as what I would probably like. But you know, kids are different, and teams are different. But I do think that usually over a course of time, there is that part of it is certainly prevalent in how a team plays and approaches the game.
You talked about practices earlier in the year. Have they gotten more competitive?
I think so. I don't think that we're a great practice team, but I do think they've gotten better. I do. I don't think that we're an awful practice team. I'm not saying that at all. I think we went through a period of time where we weren't very good, but I do think we've improved in that area.
Coach, do you think Patrick Mahomes is MVP?
Do I think Patrick Mahomes is MVP? Well, yeah. As a fan and a homer, I would say, yeah, positively. But I also don't. I haven't studied it, so don't take numbers wise. Heck yes, all those things. But I also think, you know, going 2-0 the last two games would solidify it, because I do believe that you know, he's incredible, and certainly. But there, you know, there's a couple other guys out there. You know, if they finish strong and we don't, then, you know, maybe people will look at it differently. But I can't imagine Breeze or anybody beating him out.